I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. We are still in the book of Acts. We are in Paul's last days here. He is back in Jerusalem, been assaulted by the Jews, big riot started up, but the chief captain of the Romans has taken him in to question him. He had allowed him to speak to the Jews and he told of his conversion. This just prompted the Jews to want to kill him even more, so the chief captain was going to question him, but he declared his citizenship in Rome. And so now they're going to hold a trial before the chief judges, or he's going to hold a trial, the chief captain, and the high priests have to come in and explain why they're trying to kill Paul. That's what we read last. The trial is just about to start now as we read chapter 23. In this video, we have a Joseph Smith translation. Now, what the Joseph Smith translation is, this is a translation or correction done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that have been lost or corrupted over the years. Acts chapter 23. And Paul, earnestly beholding the council, said, Men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before God until this day. And the high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by him to smite him on the mouth. Then said Paul unto him, God shall smite thee, thou whited wall. For sittest thou to judge me after the law, and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the law? And they that stood by said, Revilest thou God's high priest? Then said Paul, I wist not, brethren, that he was the high priest, for it is written, Thou shalt not speak evil of the ruler of thy people. But when Paul perceived that the one part were Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, Men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. Of the hope and resurrection of the dead I am called in question. And when he had so said, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided. For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisees confess both. And there arose a great cry, and the scribes that were of the Pharisees' part arose and strove, saying, We find no evil in this man. But if a spirit or an angel hath spoken to him, let us not fight against God. And when there arose a great dissension, the chief captain, fearing lest Paul should have been pulled in pieces of them, commanded the soldiers to go down and to take him by force from among them, and to bring him into the castle. And the night following, the Lord stood by him, and said, Be of good cheer, Paul, for as thou hast testified of me in Jerusalem, so must thou bear witness also at Rome. And when it was day, certain of the Jews banded together, and bound themselves under a curse, saying that they would neither eat nor drink till they had killed Paul. And they were more than 40 which had made this conspiracy. And they came to the chief priests and elders, and said, We have bound ourselves under a great curse, that we will eat nothing until we have slain Paul. Now therefore ye with the council signify to the chief captain, that he bring him down unto you tomorrow, as though ye would inquire something more perfectly concerning him. And we, or ever he came near, are ready to kill him. And when Paul's sister's son heard of their lying in wait, he went and entered into the castle and told Paul. Then Paul called one of the centurions unto him, and said, Bring this young man unto the chief captain, for he hath a certain thing to tell him. So he took him and brought him to the chief captain, and said, Paul the prisoner called me unto him, and prayed me to bring this young man unto thee, who hath something to say unto thee. Let's pause it there a moment. The chief captain is trying to settle the dispute of what Paul is being accused of. So he brings all the high priests in, he brings in the Sanhedrin, this is the ruling council among the Jews, and he sets Paul before him, and he says, okay, you guys question this guy, figure out what's going on and what you want to accuse him of so that I can make a decision, so that I can figure out what to do. Paul, he declares he has a clean conscience before God. The high priest has him smitten, and he kind of curses the high priest. But I like this, is they revile against him for speaking against the high priest. But he says, oh wait, I didn't know he was the high priest. I wouldn't have said that if I knew he was the high priest, because, we're not supposed to revile against God's rulers. He still respects the office of high priest among the Jews. See, He doesn't follow the law of Moses. He doesn't require anybody else to. But he respects the office because it is still an office called of God. But I love this. They're all questioning him. And then he realizes, no, these guys are Sadducees and these guys are Pharisees. So he brings up a known controversy between the two groups. And he says, I'm a Pharisee, and the Sadducees are accusing me of teaching the resurrection. Causes a great confusion. The Sadducees and Pharisees are fighting against each other to the point the chief captain has to come and pull them out of the crowd. It doesn't settle the problem. The chief captain still have no idea what's going on because he just started another riot. But then we have this conspiracy, 40 men taking the oath. They laid themselves under a curse. They took an oath to kill Paul, though they will not eat until they kill Paul. They will starve themselves to death. I actually honestly think they probably did. That's why it said they're put under a curse. They cursed themselves to starve to death if they couldn't kill Paul, and they don't kill Paul. Paul's sister's son, so Paul's nephew, finds out about the conspiracy, goes and tells Paul, and Paul tells him he has to tell the chief captain. So that's where we're at. But I like this. Paul starts a riot by saying, I'm accused by them of teaching the resurrection. He's stirring up known controversy, known divisions of the Jews. But I also, the last thing there, God is here telling Paul in verse 11, you are going to go to Rome, so don't worry about it here. They are not going to touch you here, because you still have to go to Rome. Let us continue verse 19. Then the chief captain took him by the hand and went with him aside privately and asked him, what is that thou hast to tell me? And he said, the Jews have agreed to desire thee that thou wouldest bring down Paul tomorrow into the council, as though they would inquire somewhat of him more perfectly. But do not thou yield unto them, for there lie in wait for him of them more than 40 men, which have bound themselves with an oath, that they will neither eat nor drink till they have killed him. And now are they ready, looking for a promise from thee. So the chief captain then let the young man depart, and charged him, see thou tell no man that thou hast shewed these things to me. And he called unto him 2 centurions, saying, make ready 200 soldiers to go to Caesarea, and horsemen 70, and spearmen 200 at the 3rd hour of the night, and provide them beasts, that they may set Paul on, and bring him safe unto Felix the governor. And he wrote a letter after this manner, Claudius Lysias, unto the most excellent governor Felix, sendeth greeting. This man was taken of the Jews, and should have been killed of them. Then came I with an army, and rescued him, having understood that he was a Roman. And when I would have known the cause wherefore they accused him, I brought him forth into their council, whom I perceived to be accused of questions of their law, but to have nothing laid to his charge worthy of death or of bonds. And when it was told me how that the Jews laid wait for the man, I sent straightway to thee, and gave commandment to his accusers also to say before thee what they had against him. Farewell. Then the soldiers, as it was commanded them, took Paul, and brought him by night to Antipatris. On the morrow they left the horsemen to go with him, and returned to the castle. Who, when they came to Caesarea, and delivered the epistle to the governor, presented Paul also before him. And when the governor had read the letter, he asked of what province he was. And when he understood that he was of Cilicia, I will hear thee, said he, when thine accusers are also come. And he commanded him to be kept in Herod's judgment hall. So, I was a little off on what I said about the chief captain. He's not the governor. But the governorship has moved its headquarters from Jerusalem to Caesarea. I do recall that Herod went to Caesarea, and he gave a big speech, and God killed him because he didn't give God any glory. And that happened like chapter 8 or 9, something like that. But they now are sending him to the governor. So the chief captain is over the garrison in Jerusalem, but he's not the governor. And so when he gets wind of this conspiracy, in order to protect Paul, he sends him off to Felix, who is the governor. And he's the governor, I think, of a much wider province than just Jerusalem. The Pilate probably was the governor of a smaller area, but there have been some internal strifes in the empire, and some of the smaller provinces have been combined into a larger province, which is why he asks what province he is from. But he has now said, he's okay, we're going to keep you in prison until your accusers get here. Then we will hear their accusations, and we will decide what to do. So he is now in Caesarea, in prison in Caesarea. That's where we're at. So let us take a quick look at the Joseph Smith translation here. There's not much, again. We have first in verse 15, when the conspiracy tells them to get the chief captain to bring him back to the council. At the end there, in the King James it says, and we, or ever he come near, are ready to kill him. Corrected, and we, before he come near, are ready to kill him. So they're going to kill him before he gets to the council. As they come near to the council, they will kill him in the street. So they're going to be brought from the castle to the Sanhedrin council chamber, and en route, they'll kill Paul. That's the plan. Now in verse 27, where it says, this man was taken of the Jews, and should have been killed of them, we correct that, and would have been killed of them. I think that's a minor grammatical change, or a kind of a language update. So I don't think the King James Version was necessarily wrong, but in modern language, it is corrected to would. So we leave that there, and we pick it up in chapter 24 next. So I will see you there.